What was transformative for me was to know how incredibly loved and supported we are, that we really are brave for being here. So I think having that self-compassion and that self-love and self-respect for ourselves on this journey, as well as for others, because we have no idea what other people are going through, and we're not meant to know.
Welcome, everybody, to Spirituality. If you're new here, my name is Kat, and I'm a longtime astral traveler and spirit consultant. If you are returning, welcome and thank you. I am so pleased to have joining me today Wendy Williams, who is an energy healer and author. Thank you so much for joining me for the conversation today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here, Kat. Thanks for having me as your guest.
Absolutely. Can you let us know a little bit about your journey and how you got to doing what you're doing today?
Certainly. Well, it really started with two NDEs that I had when I was newly pregnant with my youngest daughter. The day of the first NDE, I was working at home. I was home alone, and I just did not feel right. I was noticing two things that seemed off to me, and one was just this relentless heartburn. And the other thing was I was having this dream, vivid dream again and again and again. And I did not normally have that experience, and I did not know at the time the concept of prophetic dreams.
Mhm.
And what I would see in the dream was this terrible storm out at sea, and I would see a ship, and there's all this tearing going on, like winches and cleats, everything's tearing off. The masts would all break and the ship would go down. So it doesn't take a master dream interpreter to tell you, pay attention, Wendy, your ship's about to go down. I just could not focus that day, and I did not feel right. All of a sudden, there was this sense of impending doom. And I've never had that feeling before. So I ran into the bathroom thinking, I'm going to be sick. Something's really, really wrong. There was this searing pain in my abdomen, and it felt like an organ burst. And I remember calling out to God for help because I knew I was home alone. I passed out on the floor at that point. I only came to because there was this insistent male voice, and he just kept saying, Wendy, Wendy, you've got to wake up now or you're going to go home. And I knew he meant I was gonna die. So I opened my eyes and I looked around the room, and it was hard to take it in because the bathroom was filled with angels. And there were 4 or 5 huge angels. And I just saw them as much bigger than people, more like 8 to 9 feet tall, and just so much love coming from them and this beautiful wisdom. And they were there to help me, and I felt so grateful for that. So he repeated, You've got to call for help now, or you're going to go home. And I replied, I know, but I can't walk. How am I going to get to the phone? And what he said was, you just have to be willing to try. And I think he was referring to free will. I think he was also referring to the fact that we have to ask for help. No one can come in with a magic wand and just, change our life for us, nor should they be able to. It took everything I had to get up on my hands and knees. And the minute I was able to do that, it was like being gently moved or relocated or flown, is the best way I can describe it. And now I'm right at the nightstand, so I can reach up and grab the phone. And at that point, I called my husband at work. All I said was, I need you to drive me to the hospital now. Can you take me to the hospital now? And he replied, on my way. So I'm whisked up to the doctor's office in the wheelchair, and they help me up on the ultrasound table. And the physician says to me, very kindly but very to the point, Wendy, you've got a major abdominal bleed. So I'm being very well attended, but I could feel myself walking between worlds for several days. And what concerned me the most about that was I didn't really care. I was just in so much pain and so scared that I just wanted to feel better. I'm trying to relax in my hospital room that night after dinner and visualize the best possible outcome. The moment I have that thought, I leave my body, I pop right out of my body. And I look back over my shoulder at my body, at Wendy, and I'm kind of like critiquing myself because I feel so much better, and my sense of humor is already coming back because I'm in pure soul form. and I feel wonderful. And I'm like, oh wow, look at her. She's in a bad way. She's whiter than the sheets. I was not interested in anything more. I just wanted to follow the white light because that's what captured my attention. So, and I can just see it's like a triangle coming down from the ceiling of my hospital room, and I can feel this like magnetic pull, and I just want to explore that. So I take one more casual look at my body, and I go, ah, she's fine. Very, very blasé, and just start following that light. And I go up and up and up. I'm feeling better and better and more like myself. And then at a certain point, I just ran out of gas. So as I'm thinking, I won't make it, right at that instant, this gorgeous escalator drops in. It's just for me. It's pristine. There's so much light coming off it. So I gratefully get this ride up to the light. And at the top of the escalator, clearly they knew I was coming because everyone's gathered in this tight little circle. And there's my soul family. There's the people that I have spent the most time with. And the same 4 or 5 angels were standing behind them that had been in my bathroom. So everyone gives me this big group hug when I get there, and I'm just basking in it. And I don't want it to end. I could have stayed there forever because it was unconditional love. So after Michael welcomed me and everyone stepped back from giving me that amazing hug, he said, I can tell you 3 things to help you make your decision because you're going to need to decide quickly if you're going to go back. Number 1, he told me, if you choose to go back, you will have a successful surgery tomorrow and you will regain your health completely. Number 2 was, if you choose to go back, your baby will be born healthy. And this, of course, has been very top of mind for me. So now I'm starting to kind of waver because when everyone was giving me the hug, well, of course I was going to stay. But now I've got these 2 pieces of information. I'm like, oh, maybe I should go back. And then number 3 that he shared with me was the kicker. And Archangel Michael said, if you choose to go back, your life will be very difficult, likely for many years, because you're not living your life purpose. You're not on your path. I felt terrible, Kat. No one wants to hear they're not living their purpose. So of course I ask him, well, what's my purpose? Well, what should I be doing? What should I not be doing? He just gently shook his head. Okay, I get it. I'm supposed to figure it out myself. At that point, Michael asks me, what do you want to do? And all I can see, Kat, all I can experience when he asks me that question is our toddler's face. It just filled my entire worldview. So at that point, when he asked me and I just saw Tara's face like that, the decision was easy. And I said, put me back in, coach. I'm ready to play. I'm going back for my children. I want to go back for my children. At that point, everyone's, just gets into cheerleader mode. They're like beaming smiles. They're like, you can do it. And that's such a brave choice. I go down the escalator and I'm like looking over my shoulder and everyone's just cheerleading and, just rooting for me. And I go just into the hospital room and it's easy as can be. It's slow and I just go gently back into my body. And 2 immediate thoughts. My first one was irritation. I was so annoyed that I'm 5'2". I'm like, why did I choose this little scrunchy body? It's so hard to fit that big like soul energy and essence in. And thought number 2 was, ugh, the pain. I'm so glad I'm having that surgery tomorrow, and I just need to hold on to what I now know, that it's going to be successful and I'm going to regain my health and I'm going to have a healthy baby. So that, of course, is exactly what happens. I have the surgery the next morning, and my physician would later tell me that he estimated I had lost 3/4 of my blood supply based on the amount of transfusing that they had to do.
Can you share with people what were your big takeaways? Like what from that was really transformative for you moving forward?
What was transformative for me was to know how incredibly loved and supported we are, and just that we really are brave for being here. So I think having that self-compassion and that self-love and self-respect for ourselves on this journey, as well as for others, because we have no idea what other people are going through, and we're not meant to know. So I think, just kind of like dropping the judgments and upping the love would be very, very helpful. Some of the things that I learned when I was home and at the top of the escalator, I noticed 5 people in particular, and all of that taught me some great lessons. 2 were my maternal grandparents, my mom's parents. That was not a big surprise to me. I had a very close relationship with them, and they had died years earlier. That made perfect sense. They were part of the welcoming committee. What was really interesting, though, was my dad's parents were there. And I had never met my paternal grandparents in this lifetime because they died before I was born. But I knew them immediately, and everyone looked the same. Just these big, beautiful beach balls with like all this lightning storm of energy. And it made me realize these artificial distinctions we have around gender, color, socioeconomic, where people live, where they're from, what their background is, and the bias and the prejudice that is applied and the hatred at times that is applied to that. It's a bunch of faux hunky. It just, phooey. It makes no sense. And we need to let it go because we're all these beautiful eternal souls, and we're all exactly the same. And then another soul that came forward first was really intriguing to me because it was the higher self of one of my best friends in this lifetime, and she's very much alive, but
Mhm.
yet she welcomed me home. So that made me realize I hear people worrying about missed reunions and that sort of thing. And, well, what if I reincarnate and I don't get to be with my beloved
Mhm.
XYZ person? Well, their higher self there's always an aspect of that energy there. So there's no missed reunions. So just, things were making more sense to me in life from having these experiences. But Kat, I didn't know what to do with them, and I chose not to share it with anyone because I worked in healthcare, and my common sense told me I don't need a psych eval. I know what's real, and this is not a disassociated state. This is not mental illness, and I'm not
Yeah.
interested in having a psych eval. So I just kept it to myself. So I'm back at work for about 6 weeks. I had worked there for about 3 years, job I love, and I get called into my boss's office on a Friday afternoon. I don't think a thing about it. But the minute I start to walk into his office, Kat, I can just see his energy, and I can see human resources sitting there with a personnel file on the table. So I don't even need to walk in the room. They don't even need to say a word. I know what this is. This is the dreaded Friday
Mhm.
afternoon layoff. So I get laid off from a job that I really love, really need. We needed that full-time income. And I also carried the health insurance for the family, and I'm pregnant. So this was just a really, really tough layoff. And I flashed back to what Archangel Michael had said. Things are very likely to get difficult, likely for years. 1 week later to the day, and my husband he's one of 5 owners in a successful software company that's been his dream, and they had gone belly up. So we had a very, very hard time, both financially, me physically, and just emotionally. And it was hard on our marriage. So the next important thing that happened in my spiritual awakening was I was sitting in the pediatrician's office one day, no health insurance, neither of us is working, and all of a sudden I hear Michael say, "Look, look." And I can see this lamp getting brighter and brighter. I'm like, wow, there's like a little brochure over there. So I ran over and grabbed the brochure. And what it was, Kat, it was an application
Mhm.
for WIC, which I had never heard of, which is Women, Infants, and Children. And it's a division of Medicaid. And it was the first help that we were able to get. So grateful because now I had health insurance to be able to deliver in the hospital because that was the only option for me. But now I know, wow, I can still hear angels. This is a big deal. I can still hear the divine at times. I deliver my healthy baby girl. I'm home alone in the master bedroom, feeling so grateful. And Michael comes in to the bedroom, and he says very conversationally, "Your contract with your husband is complete." I almost dropped the baby. This was like the last thing I want to hear. It was not my finest moment. I am just now arguing and swearing at an archangel. Like, what do you mean my contract's complete? What are you talking about? Can I even get a chance to breathe here? So I asked him, please clarify. Are you saying my marriage is over? And he just nodded and then he left. I didn't want to hear it, Kat, but I knew it was true. And having that knowledge was very important for me to be able to look it in the face. Many nights in just, prayer and meditation of what do I do with this knowledge. So what we chose to do was just a very peaceful divorce. So now flash forward, and I just reinvented my career. Everything was going great. I'd been online dating for 3 or 4 months, and been out a couple of times.
And is that how you got into doing energy work, being an energy healer and being an author on the topic?
Exactly. I found another major contract where we were meant to marry later in life and have a happy marriage, and we were meant to help others with their spiritual awakening. And it was very specific. It was for us to write books together. It was for us to be on air together. So I just want people to understand, if you have a soul contract and it doesn't play out the way that it's meant to, do not despair, because if it's important, guides and the divine, they're just going to help find a different way, because that contract was still there for us to help each other write. He's actually the client in my first book. So Regression Healing 1, The Huntsman, the Lord High Mayor, and the World War II Soldier is his sessions, because they were profound. So he drives me to my first session, my first past life regression. It's so incredible. I release a lifetime of anxiety. I see 2 past lives, and it's just incredible. And I have several more sessions over the next couple of years. And after the 4th or 5th session, that therapist, she said to me, Wendy, you've got to listen to your recording, because it's very unusual. I've not had this happen with anyone. You not only speak fluently as your higher self and guides during a session, because that's what happens for clients with your hypnotherapist help. That energy's coming through and you're speaking as them, just giving yourself the help you need that you haven't been able to find and to get. But she said, you're telling me what to do. Like, you're critiquing it. She says, you've done this work before. Have you considered training to do this type of work for others? It's like, well, I hadn't until you said it. Get the wonderful opportunity to train very quickly, comes up as soon as I open myself to it.
I'm wanting to pick your brain and pick on your expertise a little bit with the way energies are going and the way people are feeling out there right now, and especially the prevailing energies and things that are swirling around on social media. What are some of the best strategies or ways for people in their everyday life to manage the current energy and to help keep themselves focused in positive directions and focused on those soul contracts and the reasons why for things?
Absolutely. I think the best thing that we can all be doing for ourselves is unplug from the media. Be very careful of any news you're choosing to watch or to read. It is programming, and I do not think it is helpful for most of us. So just pay attention to what you're meant to be doing. Having your own spiritual practice, your own daily spiritual practice that gets you grounded and clear in your energy and just makes you feel good and comfortable and balanced, I think is essential right now. It doesn't matter if it's meditating, jogging, doing yoga, journaling, drumming, dancing, whatever it is. I think we all need that right now. And to have that daily spiritual practice include grounding and clearing our energy. And I think that just allows us to open our hearts and to just be prepared for the next stages that are coming.
I think so too. I think sometimes when things get shaken up, it's kind of to help redirect everybody. Do you think it's a good time now to be centering in and focusing in and asking those kinds of questions, asking for help and guidance from spirit
Absolutely.
guides?
Absolutely. I mean, there's some simple things that we can do, like when you first wake up in the morning, just sit with your feet on the edge of your feet on the ground, sit on the edge of the bed for a moment. Just call your higher self into your body and ground your energy. and call in your inner child and that joy. And then when you're doing your daily routine, like you're taking a shower or your bath, just ask to have your energy cleared and cleansed, and just send down that drain anything you don't need. I think spiritual practices, it can often sound like, oh my gosh, how do I get to this? I'm already too busy. I already feel too frazzled. Well, you just do them, during your day. You might be washing the dishes and you're having this lovely conversation with your guides once you learn how to do that.
Yeah, I do think that there's a perception out there that in order to have a spiritual practice, you need to be like sitting around in the dark with your legs crossed for an hour every day. And it's really, for me, it's really in the little moments, having some calming music on in my headphones while I'm folding laundry or while I'm getting ready. I don't think it necessarily needs to be this whole guru routine in order for it to be a spiritual practice. I really think it's more about holding space for yourself mentally in the middle of your day whenever you need to, and allowing that peace to be float into you. Excellent point.
I agree, because we're spiritual beings. We're energy beings, so we can just do that naturally, and not add to that too long to-do list.
Yeah, and to the point that you made earlier, I think it is really helpful to be able to step back a little bit and look at just other people in your life, other people out there in the wide world as being on their path, and these things, these feelings, these things they're going through is a part of their development and their path. So to
Absolutely.
relax into that uh, acceptance of people where they are at this time.
Yes,
I agree
exactly.
with you completely, as the only sense I've ever gotten from higher beings or from the experience on the other side is that it's all okay. Like it's all, everybody is following their path, and there isn't any need to panic or be angry or to freak out about it, to stay calm and, stay in your own power, stay centered, because everybody has to follow and do their own spiritual journey. Everybody's walking their own path.
Exactly. And we just have so many opportunities. If you need a mid-course correction, there's always an opportunity to make a new choice. It's just going to, be more aligned, and it's going to work better. And you'll know, because there's just ease and grace to it. There's just flow. So that's how you know that, you're on the right path, and just keep going with that.
Yeah, and there's an empowerment piece to it, I think, too. One of the most powerful things I got told by my guides is when I was in a moment of total despair and completely like, this is not working. They almost, to your point, they kind of like laughed at me or giggled a little bit, not in a mean way, but just in a, silly kind of way.
Hmm.
And the
Trying to
energy,
lighten it.
yeah, yeah, and the energy was, if you're not happy, change it. You can make those changes. You are empowered. You're
Yes.
never trapped in any kind of situation ever.
Exactly. It's us not falling into that victim mentality. So
Hmm.
just as you said, staying in our personal power the best we can. And also just asking yourself, why is this happening for me? Versus why is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Especially when things get challenging, or feels like it's difficult. And then, we figure it out as we go along. And often it can take some time. It can take some perspective to say, okay, that blessing was a layoff because, it doesn't feel like it in that moment, but you just, with time, that there's a reason, and you work your way through.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a huge mindset shift
Hmm.
to recognize that the fun of being here is
Hmm.
the fluctuation, it is the challenges, it is the,
Roller coaster ride.
yes, that is the excitement and the fun of being here. And to your point that you mentioned earlier, our guides and angels, the people on the other side, are all fans. They're like super fans, like super sports fans. They're excited for you. Like win or lose or whatever you're going through, they're
Playing
here.
the game.
Yeah, they're here for the journey because you showed up on the field, right? And they're always excited about that. It's kind of an odd energy that you get when you're over there, of like, they're like, there's not this worry or panic or foreboding
Hmm.
happening. It's all cheering and rooting and being very supportive of the process. So
You're so right, Kat, and I think that's why I literally said to Archangel Michael, "Put me back in, Coach."
Absolutely. Yeah, you
When
did say that.
when I made the decision to come back to this life.
There is a huge literal stadium level energy worth of support there for every individual player on the field when it comes to the other side and the support and things that are available. So it can be a big mindset shift that you realize when you realize that even in the hardest moments, even in your darkest moments, even when maybe you're not being the best spiritual person you can be, your higher self and the other side and all of those, they never falter on that. Like that support is always there.
Right. We're not judged. It's not conditional love.
Yes, yes. And I think that's a big mindset shift for a lot of people, depending on what beliefs and dogmas and things they're coming out of from here in the 3D world. Is that
Yes,
the fear and the judgment and the pressure to try and be some kind of way is not actually a thing, as far as I've ever seen, actually being on the other side. Do you have
exactly.
insights into how to release fear for people, or practices that you use to help
Yes,
redirect your energy when you notice you're
yes.
kind of going off the rails?
One of the techniques that Mother Mary taught me, I love because it's so simple, but it's so powerful. And what she taught me was to just pay attention to my emotions and feelings during the day. And if I'm feeling anything that's really challenging, you can just write it down on a little sheet of paper. I feel angry, frustrated, whatever it is. And then take it outside. If you don't have a fire pit to burn it up, have like a cleaned out coffee can or soup can. Just be alone and just ask your higher self and guides to help you really feel that feeling and emotion for 15 seconds, just for 15 seconds, to fully release it. So do that and get really dramatic, really go for it with feeling that, because often we don't want to feel the feelings because they're hard, they're miserable. We think we won't be able to stop. When we keep tamping them down, we're not letting them go. So
Mm-hmm.
get that assistance and then burn up that little slip of paper. I mean, it's a beautiful way to spiritually surrender, and you're going to see that smoke go up, and you've surrendered it to the divine, you've let it go. And just notice how your body feels. Do you feel lighter?
Mm.
Is there like less tension in your body? Does your heart feel more open? And I find that really helpful because those lower vibration emotions and energies, they're not fun to feel, but we just have to be truthful
Yes.
with ourselves. And now that you've got a way to release them really efficiently, it's so much easier to find your center and
That's
get
so true, and
balanced.
I'm glad you're bringing it up. I really do think that toxic positivity can be a thing. Thinking you need to be
Exactly.
chronically positive about everything is going to bottle up
Mhm.
things that just need to come out. And you don't have to rage at
Exactly.
anybody or hurt
Exactly.
anybody else's feelings, or but yeah, go scream
No,
into a pillow and cry for 15 minutes.
it's
Yeah.
a private process, or in the shower, or in the closed car by
Yes, or to your
yourself,
point,
or
write it down, be in that energy, and then burn it up, right? You have to let those things
yeah,
out.
just let it go.
Acknowledging the human
Yep,
experience is important.
exactly. I feel it's a big part of why we come into human form, because our emotions have so much to show us and to teach us and to tell us, and many of them are wonderful. But as we release the emotions that are challenging and are difficult, we can bring in more of the peace, of the love, of the joy, of the gratitude, just being very, very balanced. And then we can radiate that out to others, because, we're that calm in the storm.
Absolutely. And I think that it is another just observation from being on the other side is that I think it's people undervalue the experience. There tends to be a tendency to think that this is some sort of punishment realm or some sort of
Or a
right,
trap.
or something
Hmm.
like that. Like this is some lower level place where we're being punished for our karma or something. But there is significant value in the ability to have those emotions, to have feelings of sadness, to have feelings of anger, to have that experience is a growth process. It's actually a beautiful catalyst for growing this and expanding the soul's experience. So it's actually
a privilege to be here. It's a blessing to be here.
Yeah.
It's, to your point there, the courage to be here is admirable from the other side's perspective. And they're big fans of people who come
Right.
down here to have these experiences and grow and expand the collective for everyone. It really is beneficial to the whole.
That's that's so well said. I agree. It's a privilege, and it does just help the collective, because right now we're at this pivotal time where the collective consciousness is raising its vibration. Earth has raised her vibration, and that's not an
Yeah.
easy process. And she's got to pull herself off, and we're being invited to do the same. So therefore, the things that don't serve the collective and don't serve humankind and everyone else on the planet, because we're
Mm-hmm.
certainly not the only ones here. Just it's got to be purged. So it's like an infected wound, and it's got to be cleaned out and cauterized, and then it can heal nicely and just
That's
blossom
so
into what
funny. I
it's
was
meant
saying
to
the same
be.
thing to somebody the other day. Is it's like I know how this all looks and feels right now, but think of it as in like a lance that pierces a boil, and what you're getting is all of the pus. Like, but it's a healing
Hmm. Yep.
process. It's the shadow, it's the
Yep.
collective shadow work. All of that infection has to come out for any kind of healing to actually happen.
Right. And just lift each other up, because we're going to feel different at different points. And we just need to take really, really beautiful care of ourselves, and that helps lift others up too.
Absolutely. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you a lot for being here. Do you want to shout out your website or your places? Let the people know where they can find you.
Certainly. So the best way to reach me, Kat, is via my website, which is wendyrosewilliams.com. And there people will find information how to work together privately, or to do some fun, uplifting group sessions together. And links to my books are there, as well as to my podcast, which is
Beautiful. I love
wakingupspiritually.com.
that. I will link all of that in the description for people who want to be able to find it and reference it easily. I appreciate you and your work and all people who are light workers and helping to lift people up right now. It's such an important message to share with everybody. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you for the opportunity and
Absolutely.
for the
And thank all of you guys for
platform.
being here and tuning in and sticking with us. Like, subscribe, come back for more later, and we will see you guys next time on Spirituality.